don't spend time in that, unfortunately. We don't prepare ourselves to look at the success system. And when you have a systemic orientation to success, that I will have my breakfast in the morning and then I will meditate for 15 minutes. And before I eat breakfast, I have to write 250 words. Otherwise, there's no breakfast. And then I'll go to my treadmill. All of these are interconnected. I don't lose the sequence in my life. So the sequence is that getting up from bed, meditating, writing 250 words only to earn my breakfast, and then I go on a treadmill just before breakfast for 15, 20 minutes. So this is my sequence. Now, this is a context which I have perfected. Now, nobody has to tell me now, how does one write? If I don't eat breakfast until I've written 250 words, those 17 books or 18 books that you're talking about, what is a book fundamentally? See, look at the context of a book. Book is nothing but 26 letters of the alphabet put together in a certain sequence to form a word. And many words form a sentence. Many sentences form a paragraph. Many paragraphs form a page. 200 odd pages form a book. No, first of all, I have to understand the building block of success of writing a book. So if I say that I'm going to write a book without the context of when will I write those 250 words? How will I position those words with other words? This is the foundational aspect of writing a book. If I start thinking, so-and-so is writing a book and I'm not able to write it, I have completely misplaced the context. I have not allowed myself to create a system through which I will produce a book. So that's what happens. Yeah.
And also, I think you've talked about it. Basically, what you're also trying to say in many words is that, you've got to start with the building blocks, the simple things, and then move on from there. Now you've written these different kinds of books, and recently you've come up with a love story, which is very different from what you've done before. Essentially, maybe you're also trying to reinvent yourself as a writer. Now, this whole concept around, reinventing and changing. Oh, thanks for showing that. I think that's a beautiful cover as well. So I think when you're looking at reinventing yourself, how does one do that? And could you share some thoughts around that?
The thing is, before you reinvent, you have to figure out that what is this untold story? What is this unsaid thing that you've not said yet? Yet there's a whisper inside you that says, well, you have to, this life inside you has only one desire. It wants to be born through you. You are once born in your mother's womb, and then your twice, second and fourth and third and fifth birth happens. Each time you give birth to something that is deep within you. So this story was in me for 30 years. I promised to my lecturer in JNU when I went there was that I will write a novel. And he actually held a whole class based on my novel where I was discussing this love story. It took me 30 years to produce it. For 30 long years, this voice was there and it was whispering. I didn't listen to it until one day it says, I'm very, very close to my, professional career closing up in another decade or so. So if I haven't written my novel in one lifetime, what a fool am I? So I invested time. Day in and day out, I worked at it. It is the hardest work that I did because I never wrote a novel before. But, I sent it out to 2 Sahitya Academy winners. One was Shashi Tharoor, the other was Anis Salim, 2 best-known names in the world of fiction. And they read the book, they said, it's indeed commendable. They talked about my craft. And Shashi Tharoor said that it's lyrical, and Anis Salim says that it's a craft that's worth lucrating. It's like a spellbinding book and all of that. So it gave me a sense that I could indeed write. But until I wrote it, I didn't have a sense that I could actually write a novel. So whatever is deep in you, so this love story that is deep in you, I realized, love is the most important organizing principle in our universe. It connects the infinite and the infinitesimal, the atoms in their orbits and the planets moving around the galaxies and stars. You see, all of them are propelled by love. And what is love? Love is nothing, not just a passing emotion. So I looked at 7 shades of love, starting from a basic affection, attachment, carnality, which are all dimensions of love, until you recognize love is nothing but freedom, right? Love is nothing but truth. And so fundamental to our understanding of our universe is love. If you ask a high achiever, since this is a program on success and failure, He said, how did you succeed so well? He said, because I loved doing what I did. And he said, then what is love for you? Then he will tell you love in a language that you don't even understand. And one of the greatest yoga teachers of India, Mr. Iyengar, we know of Iyengar yoga everywhere. When he tells his students to put more effort in the stretches, yoga postures, he says, put more love. He doesn't say put more effort. So love is another name for effort. That they see effort to the maximum. A mother's giving birth to a child is labor pain. It's an effort of love. And that is very significant to understand. So this book that I just showed you, Krishna, the Seventh Sense, is a book that not just talks about love in its infantile nuance of romance and campus, although it takes that into account. It starts in campus, ends in an ashram, and goes beyond that. The fundamentals of love have been explored, like the 7 colors of a peacock. I explore affection and attachment, pain and peril of love, freedom that comes with it, the final realization of what love is. Krishna's life is essentially an exploration of that phenomenon.
Beautiful. And I think I've read all your work earlier also, and I found that it appeals to the mind and it appeals to the soul. And I think now you're adding the dimension of the heart as well. So that is beautiful because it actually completes the entire thing. I think one last bit that I'd love to ask you is, when we are wanting to, overcome odds or overcome our failures, or even for that matter, even our weaknesses, we always face barriers, right? Barriers towards changing ourselves, and maybe the context could be changing or otherwise, but really that element of change, how does that one embed that so that you are perpetually changing all the time? Because I think success has got a very close correlation towards how fast you are also changing yourself with what's happening in the outside world. So how does one embed that within and find that so that you are perpetually becoming a better version?
No, you're not perpetually changing. Please understand that. You are not changing. What is changing is your accessories. Those accessories that you've collected from the universe of change. And so the material body, which is 5 elements, it is changing constantly because the elements, this is their nature to change. Emotions are changing. Emotions are in motion constantly. The mind is changing, and so you can see these are your accessories. So if you come to a wrong conclusion saying that I am changing, you have to examine that conclusion again in the light of evidence. Have you changed anything in your life? The perspective that you bring. Who knows that you are a young kid, you are like this as a young kid? Who knows that you are an adult? Who knows that you are now a professional in your own? Who knows that one which knows never changes? Because if you look at a blackboard and you're changing sentences, you're writing different sentences, changing nature sentences, but the blackboard is constant, right? Or you're seeing a movie and you see on a white screen, there's a lot of fighting, a lot of violence, car chasing another car, a lot of movement, but the screen remains still. It does not change at all. At the end of the movie, the screen has not acquired any new color. It has not been torn by the fighting that is going on in the movie. The screen remains the same. So the screen of observation, the observer within you, never changes. I'm going to conclude this conversation because I have another one coming up in a while with the story of 3 Zen monks. One of them looks at a flag out there and says, look, the flag flutters, which means the flag is changing its physical dimension. The second one says, no, flag doesn't flutter. It is the wind that flutters. It is the wind. The third one says, come on. It is neither the flag that wind that flutters. It is the mind that flutters. There's one aspect of the mind which does not flutter. There's another aspect which picks up the fluttering, transmits it to signals visually in the visual cortex, and figures out against the backdrop of that mind which never flutters that this is a fluttering flag. Then there's a fourth one who was invisible so far. He says, nothing flutters. Okay, there's an awareness that everything that changes around me, this was Gandhi's favorite prayer. He says, everything around me, I'm just summarizing his prayer. He says to the Lord, oh Lord, everything is changing around me, but that which never changes, let it abide in me.
Wow.
And so the dynamics of change can best be handled when you know that you are that changes reality, you are that observer. And it's a discovery of so many people before us. There'll be so many people after us who will discover the same dimension. Don't get caught in the change. Anchor yourself in the deeply held stability of that unchanging observer, the learner within you. And once you do that, you will not be solved by change. You will not be defeated by change. You will embrace change.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the soulful conversation, Professor Debashish, and for your time and also making us a part of your life in many ways. So thank you so much and wish you good luck for your new book as well and wonderful life ahead as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you.